She's been dead for 15 years. The B-2 Spirit bomber materializes from the Iranian desert heat shimmer, its stealth coating scarred by anti-aircraft fire. Inside the underground hangar, alarms wail as the world's most advanced aircraft lands where it shouldn't exist. General Marcus Steele freezes, his coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips as the canopy opens. A blonde woman in a torn civilian dress climbs out, blood trickling down her temple, her eyes holding the weight of 15 years in enemy territory. "Captain Sarah Mitchell reporting for duty, sir?" She salutes with military precision despite her civilian clothes. "I believe you declared me KIA 15 years ago." The general's coffee mug shatters on concrete, brown liquid spreading like blood across the floor. Around them, elite operators lowered their weapons in shock, training warring with disbelief. The woman who was supposedly vaporized in a classified mission stands before them, having just piloted the world's most advanced bomber through Iran's deadliest air defenses, alone. She clutches a weathered military dog tag in her left hand, not hers, but belonging to someone still missing. Someone whose face she sees in dreams. The underground base erupts in chaos. Security protocols demand she be detained, verified, interrogated. But Sarah Mitchell stands calmly in the center of the storm, her weathered face telling stories that classified files could never capture. MPs approach cautiously, as if she might vanish like the ghost she's been for 15 years. If you were told someone you loved was gone forever, would you still hope for a miracle? Where are you watching from today? Captain Sarah Mitchell at 38 looks nothing like the promising pilot who disappeared into the Iranian desert. The years have carved themselves into her face. Sun damage from endless days under hostile skies. Scars that map a geography of survival. Her blonde hair, once regulation short, now falls past her shoulders, streaked with premature gray. She wears a simple cotton dress, handmade by Iranian women who became her unexpected allies, torn from her journey through military checkpoints. Her call sign, Ghost, proved more prophetic than anyone imagined. She became one after Operation Desert Phantom went catastrophically wrong, leaving her stranded in enemy territory with a destroyed aircraft and a mission that officially never existed. The underground base carved into Irian mountains represents America's most classified forward operating base, a billion-dollar facility hidden beneath fake mining operations. Fewer than 50 people worldwide know of its existence. The hangar stretches into darkness, filled with aircraft that officially aren't there, maintained by personnel who don't exist, commanded by officers whose names appear in no records. It's here that General Marcus Steele runs operations that Congress will never approve, missions that presidents can deny, strikes that never happened. The general himself embodies the weight of such secrets. At 55, he's no longer the decisive commander who earned medals in Gulf War I. His pristine uniform hides hands that haven't stopped trembling since he signed Sarah Mitchell's death certificate without recovering her body, without confirming her death, without trying hard enough to bring her home. The guilt transformed him from battlefield leader to paranoid administrator, burying failures beneath classification stamps rather than learning from them. His own son, Naval Lieutenant Michael Steele, died in a training accident 3 years after Sarah's disappearance. An accident that might have been prevented if the general hadn't been consumed with covering up the Desert Phantom failure. Now he stands frozen as the woman he abandoned returns from the dead, bringing with her the weight of choices that destroyed multiple lives. "You're under arrest for desertion," Steele finally manages, his voice wavering between authority and the kind of disbelief that comes from seeing your sins walk through the door. "Ma'am, with respect, I completed the mission," Sarah responds, her voice carrying the calm of someone who's faced worse than military detention. "The nuclear facility was destroyed as ordered. I also found survivors from previous missions, Americans we left behind, including Lieutenant Morrison." She reaches into her dress pocket and places 3 dog tags on the briefing table, her hand lingering on one particular tag, thumb tracing letters worn smooth by years of handling. General Steele's face drains of color as he reads the names. Men declared dead in 2008. Men whose families received folded flags and official condolences. Men whose names are etched on memorial walls. Impossible. Those men died in the Zagros Mountains. We had confirmation, but... His voice trails off because there was no confirmation, just assumptions made to close inconvenient files. Sarah's eyes find the mission board behind him where Operation Desert Phantom still bears the red stamp of failed, a daily reminder of the general's greatest mistake. Tomorrow's strike coordinates glow on the tactical display, and Sarah's expression shifts from calm to alarm. The coordinates are wrong, fatally wrong, targeting locations that intelligence missed, paths that will lead more Americans to their deaths, just like 15 years ago when bad intelligence sent her into a trap that destroyed her aircraft and killed her weapons officer instantly. "They're alive, sir," Sarah continues, her voice carrying the weight of 15 years of promises kept in the dark. "Hidden in villages, protected by locals who remember when Americans helped during the earthquake of 2009. James Morrison, he never stopped believing I'd come back for him." Colonel Chen, the base's second-in-command and only other female officer, steps forward to examine the tags. Her sharp eyes catch what others miss. Sarah's left hand bears a wedding ring, intricately crafted in the Iranian style, gold-worked with turquoise stones. The questions multiply in the silence. How does someone survive 15 years in hostile territory? How does she acquire a B-2 bomber? How does she know about this base's location? And why return now? "Sir, those coordinates for tomorrow's strike," Sarah's voice cuts through the tension. "They're targeting civilian areas. The nuclear site moved 5 years ago. You're about to bomb a refugee camp, a camp where American children are living." The room erupts in voices, but Steele's paranoia overwhelms protocol. He orders Sarah strip-unched for Iranian surveillance devices, convinced that 15 years with the enemy has turned her into a weapon against them. After 15 years, who knows what promises you've made, what you've become. The degradation of the search doesn't break Sarah's composure. She's endured far worse, but it reveals a story written in scars across her body. The medic cataloging her injuries whispers findings that silence the room. Burn scars from interrogation tools, knife wounds following patterns used by Revolutionary Guard torturers, bullet wound scars, expertly treated but clearly life-threatening when fresh, and across her abdomen, the unmistakable marks of cesarean surgery. Sarah stands with quiet dignity as they examine evidence of her survival. But when the medic mentions the surgical scar, she finally speaks. "My daughter Layla, she's 14 now." She produces a small locket from around her neck, opening it to reveal a photograph of a young girl with Sarah's features but darker complexion, wearing a school uniform. "Her father died helping me escape an Iranian prison. He was Dr. Amir Rashidi, the nuclear physicist who sabotaged their weapons program from the inside." The revelation shifts the room's energy. General Steele's guilt manifests as cruelty, his voice rising with each word. "An enemy's child, living proof of your betrayal. You traded information for comfort, sold out your country for—" But Sarah's composure finally cracks, her voice cutting through his accusations like a blade. "Her father saved American lives. He destroyed 3 years of weapons research, burned his life's work, and died getting me to safety. Layla speaks perfect English because I taught her. She dreams of seeing America because I told her stories of home every night for 14 years, and right now she's in a school that sits directly in your strike path." The tactical displays around them show tomorrow's mission profile in harsh detail. B-2 bombers will launch at dawn, flying preset coordinates that Sarah recognizes with growing horror. She struggles against the MPs restraining her, desperation breaking through her trained calm. "That's Sector 7. There are children there, not just Iranian children, Americans, children of POWs born in captivity, hidden by families who risked everything to protect them." Her voice rises to a shout. "My daughter's school is in that strike zone. You're about to murder 43 American children because your intelligence is 15 years out of date." But Steele, drowning in his own paranoia and guilt, orders her gagged and thrown in a holding cell. As the MPs drag her away, Sarah's eyes lock with Colonel Chen's, and in that moment of shared understanding between two military women, she mouths coordinates. Precise GPS locations that Chen quietly enters into her secure tablet. The cell door slams shut, leaving Sarah in darkness, but her mind races with the clarity of someone who spent 15 years preparing for this moment. The base's security is designed to keep enemies out, not to hold someone who's memorized every protocol from the inside. Guard Sergeant Torres takes his post outside her cell, a young man whose brother flew B-2s before dying in Afghanistan. Through the small window, he watches Sarah work with desperate efficiency, sketching on the concrete floor with a fragment of chalk from her pocket. Not escape plans, but the nuclear facility's true layout. Underground tunnels connecting military installations to civilian areas, passages that only someone who'd walked them would know. The detail is extraordinary, photographic, the kind of intelligence that satellites can't capture and spies can't buy. Torres finds himself leaning closer, his training warring with growing doubt about the woman they're holding. "Ma'am," he finally speaks, his voice barely above a whisper. "Your daughter, is she safe?" Sarah's hands still for a moment, and when she looks up, her eyes carry the weight of every mother who's ever been separated from her child. Layla helps run a school in the refugee camp. She teaches English to the American children, the ones born to POW fathers and Iranian mothers. 12 children who've never seen America, but sing our anthem every morning. She produces a small photograph hidden in her boot heel. American servicemen sitting with their Iranian-born children in a makeshift classroom, their faces reflecting the complex reality of lives lived between two worlds. "We created a network," Sarah continues, her voice steady despite the tears tracking down her face. "Former enemies protecting each other's families. The mothers are nurses, teachers, women who lost husbands to extremists and found purpose protecting the children of men their government calls enemies. They refused to abandon us when we needed help, and I refused to abandon them when I could have escaped years ago." Torres recognizes features in one child's face, the distinctive nose and jaw of Captain Stevens, whose Black Hawk went down in 2009. "That boy, he looks exactly like..." Sarah nods before he can finish. "His son, Adam, 8 years old, speaks 3 languages, dreams of being a pilot like his father. He's never seen America, but he draws F-22s from memory because his dad described them so perfectly." Meanwhile, in the base's secure command center, Colonel Chen accesses classified files with her command privileges, digging into the sealed records of Operation Desert Phantom. What she finds challenges everything they've been told. Sarah Mitchell wasn't just the Air Force's youngest female B-2 pilot. She was exceptional, with 3 distinguished flying crosses earned before age 25. Her service record reads like a recruitment poster, until the moment she vanished. The KIA report bears General Steele's signature but lacks crucial elements. No body recovered, no aircraft debris found, conflicting witness statements about her last known position. More disturbing are the addendums added over the years, each one burying the truth deeper. Chen discovers 3 separate instances where Iranian officials offered prisoner exchanges involving American personnel, each time dismissed by Steele as disinformation campaigns without investigation. The financial records tell another story entirely. Small transactions, appearing monthly for 15 years, labeled Ghost Angel Fund in Iranian banking systems. Money flowing to families across Iran, keeping dozens of people alive, people connected to missing American service. Remembers, Chen cross-efforts the data with refugee camp reports and finds a pattern. Wherever these funds appear, stories emerge of a blonde woman who helps without asking for anything in return, who speaks Persian with an American accent, who knows things about missing soldiers that no one else could know. The Ghost Angel, they call her. Sarah Mitchell has been hiding in plain sight, not as a deserter or traitor, but as a one-woman rescue operation, abandoned by her country, but not abandoning her duty. What would you do if everyone around you dismissed your worth? Have you ever been underestimated like this? General Steele sits alone in his office, surrounded by the weight of 15 years of wrong decisions. On his desk, 3 photographs fight for space. His son Michael in naval dress whites, Sarah Mitchell in her flight suit before Desert Phantom, and the 43 service members declared KIA under his command. His hands shake as he opens a locked drawer, pulling out files he's never had the courage to review. Michael's accident report makes clear what Steele has always known, but never acknowledged. His son died because Steele delayed search and rescue operations to cover up the Desert Phantom failure. Resources that might have saved Michael were tied up maintaining the lie that Sarah Mitchell vaporized in a nuclear blast. But the weight of command means living with such choices, or so he's told himself through 15 years of sleepless nights. Each year he's added another layer of classification to Sarah's file, another lock on the truth, another barrier between his guilt and consequences. The tremor in his hands isn't age or stress, it's the physical manifestation of a conscience that won't stay buried. When his aide enters with urgent intelligence, Steele barely glances at it. His paranoia has grown so thick that every report seems like a threat, every communication a potential exposure of his failures. The aide persists, showing satellite imagery of unusual movement in Sector 7, the target zone for tomorrow's strike. What Steele dismisses as normal refugee patterns clearly shows organized evacuation, families moving with military precision. In her cell, Sarah works through the night, her sketches expanding from the nuclear facility to a comprehensive map of American POW locations across Iran. Each X marks a life abandoned, a soldier written off, a family told to mourn and move on. But around each X she draws circles. Iranian families who've become protectors, communities that chose compassion over politics. Her own transformation from pilot to ghost angel began with such a choice. When Dr. Rashidi found her in the wreckage of her B-2, radiation sick and dying, he could have turned her over to authorities for a reward. Instead, he risked his position, his freedom, and ultimately his life to save an enemy pilot. Their love grew from that seed of unexpected mercy, blooming in the shadow of war into something neither country would understand. He was brilliant, Sarah tells Torres, who's abandoned any pretense of guard duty to listen to her story. Amir could have built weapons to destroy cities. Instead, he spent 3 years sabotaging the program from within, feeding false data, misdirecting resources. When they finally suspected him, he didn't run. He stayed to destroy his research and get me out. Layla was 6 months old when he died. His last words were to raise her as a bridge between our peoples. The photograph she shows next takes Torres's breath away. Dozens of American children in a hidden school, their faces reflecting the complex heritage of two nations at war. Some have their father's blue eyes and their mother's olive skin. Others carry features that would fit in any American suburb, except for the Persian they speak as fluently as English. The midnight hour brings unexpected allies. Maintenance Chief Weber, who serviced aircraft for 30 years, appears at Sarah's cell with Colonel Chen. "I know you, Ghost," he says simply. "You saved my nephew in Kandahar, pulled him from a burning Humvee when everyone else ran. If you say you can fly that bird through their defenses, I believe you." Chen adds her own intelligence, showing Sarah the financial records she's uncovered. "You've been running a one-woman humanitarian operation for 15 years. Why didn't you come home sooner?" Sarah's answer cuts to the heart of duty versus orders. "Because finding them all took time. Because someone in command wanted us dead rather than risking extraction. Because those children needed someone who wouldn't abandon them the way I was abandoned." Chen reveals the final piece of the puzzle. General Steele received ransom demands for American POWs 3 times over the years, each time dismissing them without investigation. Personnel who might have been rescued died in captivity because one man's career couldn't survive the truth of his failures. "He's not evil," Sarah says quietly, surprising them with compassion for the man holding her prisoner. "He's afraid. Fear of failure, fear of truth, fear that admitting mistakes would end everything he's built. But that fear has killed more Americans than any enemy weapon." The truth of Operation Desert Phantom emerges in full. Bad intelligence Steele refused to verify. Warnings Sarah sent that were ignored. 3 aircraft lost because someone wanted a quick victory more than accurate data. Dawn approaches with terrible certainty. In 4 hours, B-2 bombers will launch carrying payloads that will level the refugee camp and everyone in it. Sarah's sketches now cover the cell floor, a desperate blueprint for salvation. But salvation comes from an unexpected source. The base alarms shriek with incoming aircraft warnings. Iranian jets approach at combat speed, and the American base scrambles to respond. In the chaos, systems fail, pilots report to ready rooms, and the lead B-2 pilot for the morning strike collapses at his controls. A massive heart attack at the worst possible moment. General Steele, his paranoia finally overwhelmed by immediate crisis, bursts into the command center screaming for solutions. "We need another pilot. The nuclear site must be destroyed. The Iranians know we're here," but Chen's voice cuts through his panic with surgical precision. "We have a pilot. The only one who's actually succeeded against their defenses. And she's the only person who knows where those American children are." Steele's carefully constructed walls begin crumbling as Chen adds the intelligence Sarah revealed. "The nuclear site moved 5 years ago, sir. You're about to bomb a school full of American POW children. Sarah Mitchell is trying to save lives you're about to end." The general's face cycles through denial, rage, and finally the kind of recognition that comes when lies can no longer support their own weight. "Those aren't our children," Steele shouts, but his voice lacks conviction. "They're Iranian. They're the enemy." The cell door swings open, and Sarah emerges, still in her torn dress, but carrying herself with the dignity of someone who's faced down death for 15 years. She spits out the gag and speaks with the authority of truth. "They're human, and I won't let you murder them like you abandoned their father." Her next words hit Steele with the force of precision munitions. "General, Your son died because you were too proud to admit mistakes. You delayed his rescue to cover up my disappearance. Don't let 12 more children die today because you can't face what you've done." The revelation lands like a physical blow. Steele staggers, his perfect uniform suddenly seeming like a costume he's worn too long. Around them, the command center personnel freeze, watching their commander face the ghost of his greatest failure. Sarah continues with relentless precision, each word a scalpel cutting away 15 years of lies. "I stayed to protect what you left behind. Those coordinates you're targeting? The nuclear site moved to underground facilities 5 years ago. You're about to bomb a school where American children sing our anthem every morning, where POW fathers teach their sons about democracy, where Iranian mothers risk everything to keep American values alive. This isn't about me or you, it's about them." With steady hands that have diffused larger crises, Sarah produces a micro USB from a hollowed tooth. Spycraft learned from necessity, not training. 15 years of intelligence. Every nuclear site, every weapons depot, every Revolutionary Guard position. But more than that, the screens around them fill with impossible images. American POWs thought dead for decades, alive in Iranian villages. Children wearing handmade American flag patches, singing the anthem in accented but perfect English. A hidden classroom where captured soldiers teach their Iranian-born children about a homeland they've never seen. The final video breaks whatever resistance remains. 43 children, their faces reflecting the heritage of 2 nations, stand in neat rows as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance, their voices carrying the hope their fathers refused to abandon. "My God," Steele breathes, the weight of his choices finally breaking through. "What have I done?" But Sarah's voice cuts through his self-pity with military efficiency. "You chose career over conscience, security over truth. But we can still save them." She reveals the final intelligence with the precision of a prosecutor closing a case. "Your trusted source, Agent Kozlov, he's been feeding you false targets for 5 years, eliminating witnesses to POW survival. The families know his identity. Today's strike would silence them forever. He meets his handlers in 90 minutes at these coordinates. The Iranians want him as badly as we do." General Hayes, the base commander, appears on secure video link, his face grave with the weight of decisions that will echo through history. "Captain Mitchell, you're reinstated with full privileges immediately. General Steele, you have one chance at redemption. Help her save those children or face trial for abandoning American personnel and conspiracy to commit war crimes." The choice hangs in the air like ordnance waiting to drop. Around them, the base personnel look between their disgraced commander and the ghost, who's returned to save what he abandoned. Steele's moment of decision stretches into eternity before he straightens, the soldier he once was fighting through 15 years of bureaucratic armor. "What do you need?" he asks Sarah, and in those 4 words, redemption begins. Sarah's transformation is swift and decisive. The torn dress disappears, replaced by her old flight suit, retrieved from the base museum where it was displayed as a memorial to a dead hero. The fabric still fits, muscle memory guiding her hands through pre-flight preparation. "I need someone who can navigate Iranian family networks," she states, all business now that the mission is clear. Colonel Chen steps forward without hesitation. "My sister married an Iranian refugee. I understand the cultural protocols." Even Steele, broken but determined to make amends, offers critical intelligence from files he's kept locked for 15 years. Kozlov's meeting his handlers at a tea house in Sector 4. "If we broadcast his location to Iranian moderates who want the weapons program shut down..." Sarah nods, understanding immediately. "They'll handle their traitor while we extract our people. It's perfect. Chaos in their command structure gives us cover. The plan comes together with the elegance of truth cutting through years of deception." Torres volunteers to coordinate ground extraction. Chief Weber readies the B-2 with modifications Sarah requests: extra fuel pods for extended flight, medical supplies for wounded POWs, and something unprecedented: car sates, jury-rigged into the weapons bay for the youngest children. Do you believe true strength comes from titles or from within? Share your own story of proving doubters wrong in the comments. The B-2 Spirit launches into dawn sky, painted blood red by rising sun. Sarah's hands find control she hasn't touched in 15 years, but her body remembers every switch, every sequence, every sensation of America's most advanced bomber responding to her will. Chen occupies the weapons officer's seat, but their mission isn't destruction, it's resurrection. Sarah flies patterns that shouldn't work, through civilian air corridors Iranian defenders ignore, exploiting shift changes she learned by listening to guard radios for over a decade. She broadcasts on a frequency Dr. Rashidi established years ago, a ghost channel for the Ghost Angel Network. Ghost Angel to Desert Rose Network, the children are coming home. Repeat, the children are coming home. The response overwhelms their communications array. Iranian voices flood the channel, not military challenges but civilian confirmations. Families across the country activate, moving American POWs from safe houses to extraction points. Moderate Iranians who've protected American personnel at great risk coordinate with precision, born from years of practice. The network Sarah built through small acts of kindness, medical help during the earthquake, teaching children to read, delivering babies in villages, pays dividends in saved lives. The first phase executes flawlessly. Sarah broadcasts Kozlov's location on Iranian military frequencies, adding just enough authentication codes to be believed. Double Agent Kozlov meeting CIA handlers, coordinates follow. The chaos is immediate and decisive. Iranian forces scramble to the tea house while their command structure tries to verify orders that don't exist. In the confusion, air defense networks fail, creating gaps Sarah exploits with supernatural precision. The B-2 ghosts through their most sophisticated defenses like shadow through light. Heading for the true nuclear facility Sarah mapped through 15 years of patient intelligence gathering. Locking onto primary target, Chin announces, but her voice carries wonder rather than military detachment. My God, Sarah, how did you get this data? These coordinates are perfect, down to the meter. Sarah's answer comes through actions rather than words. The B-2's weapons bay opens, releasing precision munitions that thread between civilian buildings to strike underground bunkers. Explosions ripple through the facility, but Sarah has programmed each weapon personally. Maximum destruction to nuclear capabilities, minimum risk to civilians. It's surgical warfare elevated to art. The kind of precision that comes from knowing every family living near the target. For you, Amir, Sarah whispers as the nuclear facility collapses into itself, Iran's weapons program crippled for a generation. But the real mission lies ahead. The B-2 banks hard, diving toward a highway Sarah helped build during her years as Ghost Angel. Below, in the growing light, impossible scenes unfold. American POWs emerge from hiding places across the region, some walking, others carried by Iranian civilians who've protected them for years. Women in traditional dress lead American soldiers they've hidden like family. Children run alongside, wearing backpacks stuffed with possessions for a journey they've dreamed about their entire lives. Sarah lands the massive bomber on a highway that shouldn't accommodate it, threading between date palms with inches to spare. The canopy opens to chaos, transformed into coordination. American soldiers presumed dead for decades stand in morning sun, some crying, others saluting with hands that haven't made that gesture in years. But it's the children who break hearts. 12 young souls who've lived between worlds, raised on stories of an America they've never seen, taught by fathers who refuse to let them forget their heritage. They wear handmade uniforms, carry American flags sewn from memory, and look at the B-2 like it's a chariot from heaven. James Morrison emerges from the crowd and time stops. 15 years have aged him, gray threading through hair once brown, lines mapping years of captivity and hope. But his eyes remain the same, lighting with recognition and something deeper as Sarah climbs down from the cockpit. In his arms, he carries a toddler with Sarah's eyes and his nose. Their daughter, born from one night together before Desert Phantom. A child Sarah never knew existed. Sarah, he says, and in that single word lives 15 years of prayers answered. You came back. You actually came back. But the reunion must wait. Iranian military vehicles appear on the horizon. Not the expected attack, but escort vehicles, driven by moderate officers who've chosen conscience over orders. They form a protective corridor as American personnel and their children board the B-2. The logistics are impossible, a bomber designed for two now holding dozens. But necessity makes its own rules. Children sit on their father's laps in the weapons bay. POWs squeeze into every available space. Iranian mothers who've raised these American children weep as they say goodbye, knowing this separation is necessary but no less painful for its necessity. Layla appears last, leading a group of younger children, translating rapid Persian into English as Iranian families deliver last messages to children they've raised. Sarah's daughter moves with the confidence of someone who's bridged two worlds her entire life. When she sees her mother in American military uniform for the first time, her composure breaks. She runs forward, shouting "Mama" in accented English, and Sarah catches her daughter in an embrace 15 years in the making. Around them, similar reunions play out. Fathers meeting children, soldiers reuniting with brothers in arms, families forming from the fragments of war. They say love knows no borders, Layla translates as Iranian mothers press letters and photographs into American hands. They say save them all, American, Iranian, it doesn't matter, save them all. The B-2 strains under weight it was never designed to carry, but Sarah knows machines obey the will of those who understand them. She coaxes every ounce of performance from the bomber, Chen managing systems with genius-level improvisation. They lift off as Iranian fighters appear, not to attack, but to escort them to international airspace. A honor guard approved by reformist commanders who choose peace over conflict. The flight home becomes legend before it ends. Sarah leads a formation that shouldn't exist. American bomber escorted by Iranian fighters, carrying POWs who lived, children who hope, and proof that humanity survives in the spaces between hatred. General Steele coordinates from the ground, his redemption measured in lives saved rather than medals earned. He personally carries the youngest child from the aircraft when they land, a girl born in captivity who sees sky without walls for the first time. Base personnel openly weep as 43 forgotten warriors emerge from the B-2's belly like Jonah from the whale. International news breaks simultaneously across time zones. American pilot thought dead for 15 years exposes double agent, rescues POWs and their children with Iranian civilian help. Videos flood social media. The children singing the American anthem, Iranian mothers blessing the rescue, moderate military officers saluting as the B-2 departed. Kozlov's capture by Iranian forces adds another layer as he confesses to 5 years of false intelligence designed to eliminate witnesses. The strike on false coordinates is aborted with minutes to spare, saving hundreds of civilian lives. But the real story lives in smaller moments. Sarah stands before Congress with Layla translating, as POW children testify about Iranian families who risked everything to protect Americans. An 8-year-old boy explains in perfect English how his father taught him the Constitution, while his Iranian grandmother taught him Persian poetry. A teenage girl describes her Iranian mother saving her American father from infection, falling in love with the enemy she was supposed to hate. Each testimony builds bridges that politicians must acknowledge, forcing a reckoning with simplified narratives of us versus them. General Hayes offers Sarah any position she desires: squadron commander, Pentagon advisor, her choice of assignments. She accepts conditionally. I want to lead integration efforts for the POW families. These children are bridges between nations, raised in the space between hate and hope. We need to help them find their place in an America they've never seen, while honoring the Iranian families who saved them. It's not a military position, but something new: recognition. That future conflicts require understanding as much as force. Est faces voluntary retirement rather than court-martial, his cooperation in the rescue earning mercy, if not forgiveness. But he doesn't retreat into shame. Instead, he establishes a foundation with his remaining wealth, the Steel Rashidi Fund, named for his son and the Iranian scientist who died saving Sarah. 2 men who died because of fear and hatred, he says at the foundation's launch. May their names together remind us that enemies are often just strangers waiting to become family. The fund provides education for POW children and supports Iranian families who protected Americans, building institutional bridges from personal connections. Sarah reunites with James Morrison in a ceremony that makes international headlines. Their wedding brings together American veterans and Iranian refugee families, with their daughters, one raised in America, one in Iran, serving as flower girls. The image of 2 girls, sharing Sarah's features but dressed in traditions of different cultures, becomes a symbol of hope in a world too often divided by fear. They marry not just as individuals but as representatives of survival through compassion, their love tempered by separation but strengthened by shared purpose. 6 months later, Sarah leads Operation Homecoming, a systematic effort to identify and extract remaining POWs globally using the network model she pioneered in Iran. The POW children, fluent in multiple cultures and carrying no hatred for complexity, prove invaluable. Several join intelligence services, not as spies, but as bridges, people who understand that security sometimes means helping supposed enemies find common ground. Their unique perspectives prevent future abandonments, ensuring no American service member is written off without exhaustive efforts. Layla Mitchell, straddling two worlds with grace her mother learned through necessity, establishes a foundation of her own. The Bridge Builders program teaches language exchange between American and Iranian youth, but it's more than words. It's about seeing enemies as people, understanding that humanity speaks every language. My mother showed me that enemy is just a word for someone whose story you haven't heard, she tells the program's first graduating class. Former POW children serve as counselors, teaching from experience that survival often depends on unexpected kindness from unexpected sources. Standing before the Vietnam Memorial with James and their blended family, Sarah touches names of the still missing. Her daughters place flowers while tourists pause, recognizing the ghost angel from news coverage. Some thank her for her service, but Sarah redirects their gratitude. Thank the Iranian families who risked everything to protect our people. Thank the moderates who chose conscience over orders. Thank everyone who believes that compassion crosses borders. She runs her fingers across names etched in black granite, knowing each represents someone's son or daughter, someone who might still be waiting for rescue. They'll say you went native, James observes quietly, watching their daughters play together, one teaching the other a Persian children's song. Sarah squeezes his hand, her wedding ring catching light beside the Iranian band she still wears. I went human, she corrects, gently. In that space between enemy and ally I found people. Mothers who couldn't watch children suffer, doctors who couldn't let patients die, teachers who couldn't stop teaching. That's where peace lives, in the space between us and them. True respect begins where judgment ends. Sarah Mitchell's story reminds us that valor isn't worn on your chest or counted in confirmed kills. It lives in the children who grow up knowing that love speaks every language, crosses every border, and brings everyone home. In a world quick to divide, her 15 years among enemies proves that humanity's greatest strength lies not in the weapons we build, but in the bridges we choose to become. The ghost angel didn't just save lives. She saved the possibility that enemies might be friends waiting to happen, that the space between nations is filled not with hatred, but with people trying to live, love, and protect what matters most. Some walls divide. Others, like Sarah Mitchell, unite.